Hi everyone, virtual hug. If you're watching these videos for the first time, thank you very much. And if you watched me last week, or if you watched any of the other people, thanks for sticking with us. Today's topic is Aaron's, which is how do we feel about the label of disability? For this week, I can see both sides of the argument. One of my favourite comedians, Adam Hills, says that he doesn't like the term disabled because it defines people in terms of what they can't do. And while I can understand this point of view, I really don't have a problem with it. I think there's a difference between being labelled as disabled and being described as disabled. Labelled suggests that people are quickly and simply dismissing somebody and putting them into a general category without getting to know the real individual. And this is what I have a problem with. I think whether or not you have a problem with the term disabled depends on how it is used towards you and how you choose to receive it. I think if somebody says to somebody in a wheelchair, for example, oh, you can't do this, you're disabled, so we can't let you join in our game. I think that's a lot different from having me in your class, for instance, and going home to your mum or dad and saying, Nicole's in my class, and they say, who's that? And then they describe me as the girl in the wheelchair. If people were to describe me as having brown hair and blue eyes, while that is true of my appearance, it doesn't necessarily distinguish me as effectively from other people as saying that I am in a wheelchair and that I am disabled might. There are two definitions of disabled that I like. One is you are disabled if you are unable to do something that people without the same condition are able to do. The second definition that I like comes from the University of Delaware Cerebral Palsy Guide, and disability is defined as a restriction in the ability to perform a normal activity of daily living which someone of the same age is able to perform. With these two definitions in mind, I see absolutely nothing wrong, personally, with calling myself disabled or having others describe me as disabled, because my reality is that I am disabled. I have cerebral palsy. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but on the other hand, it does mean that there are restrictions in the amount of things that I can do independently in my daily life and the amount of things I need help with. I definitely would prefer to be described as somebody with a disability rather than a disabled girl, but that's just personal preference, so I don't mind either way. That's because being disabled significantly impacts on my life, but it is only a part of who I am. It's a big part, but it's only a part. Another reason why I don't take being labelled as having a disability as a bad thing is because there are many organisations, for example, Writing for the Disabled, or in fact the Youth Disability Advocacy Service, who are using the word disability in a positive way to help people with disabilities, and they're not putting people with disabilities down. That's simply a way to describe what they do, who they help, and what part of the community they're looking out for. As long as being labelled disabled doesn't influence people's assumptions of what I can and can't do and make them generalise about my abilities, I think it's absolutely fine. The word that I do have a problem with is spastic, because a lot of people use it in a derogatory way. For example, Leighton Hewitt calling an umpire spastic a few years ago without fully understanding what it means. It means stupid or you don't understand what's going on. And I know that it was said in the heat of the moment, but it still isn't acceptable. Spasticity actually means a tightness in the muscles, or that your muscles are too toned. If people didn't describe me as being disabled, or people didn't say that I had a disability, it would be ignoring a giant elephant in the room, and would perhaps even put me at a disadvantage because they're not taking in the whole of who I am. Just because I'm disabled, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a handicap. Being disabled for me doesn't mean that I am handicapped or at a disadvantage because of my beautiful and supportive family, friends, and environment. But there is no getting around that I am disabled and that I do have restrictions on the tasks that I can do independently in my daily living. So I hope you have all enjoyed our thoughts on this week's topic. Please feel free to subscribe or join in the conversation by writing a comment below. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. Bye.